Yeah.
Yeah.
Or panelist?
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not seeing that.
Mine is under more, Tommy. If I hit more next to participants, I don't know if yours is the same as mine, up in the
Okay.
right corner.
I see participants.
All right, Commissioner Frisbee, we are live.
Okay. Tommy, did you get it figured out, Tommy?
No, I can just yell at you. Sorry.
I'm used to it.
If you click on participants, it'll bring up the box of participants, and then in the lower right-hand corner of the box, there's a button that says raise hand.
Okay.
All right, we'll get started. I'll call to order.
Got it. Thank you.
I'll call to order the May 21st, 2020 Board of Commissioners regular session. Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Commissioner Kathy Suvetti. Commissioner Kathy Suvetti.
Looks like she's locked, froze up.
Mhm.
Commissioner Michelle Hatcher.
Present.
Commissioner Jake Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Steve Frisbee.
Present.
Commissioner Derek King.
Present.
Commissioner Tommy Miller.
I'm here. Can you guys can't hear
Present.
me, can you?
Yep, we can hear you. Commissioner Gary Tompkins.
Present.
You have quorum.
Great, we'll have a moment of silence, after which Commissioner Tompkins will lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Thank
All
you.
right. I pledge allegiance to the
The
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Amen.
That's about the closest I think I've heard it on Zoom all ever. All right, can I have a motion to approve the May 21st, 2020 Board of Commissioners regular session agenda as presented?
Hatcher, so moved.
Sport Miller.
Moved by Hatcher, supported by Miller. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vetti. Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Vetti.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners May 7th, 2020 regular session as presented?
So move Tompkins.
Support
Hatcher,
Miller.
support.
Moved by Tompkins, supported by Hatcher. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vetti. Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes.
Commissioner Smith.
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Vetti.
It keeps locking up.
We have 6 yes. We can say she's one offline. That's okay.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is citizens' time. During citizens' time, the board chair shall recognize any person wishing to address the board. The person recognized by the chair shall call in and state his or her name and community of residence. A person may address the board only once in the same matter during each period set aside for citizens' time on the agenda and only on matters that are relevant to county government. The chair shall control the length of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes and shall not allow negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when you're calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note that there's approximately 10-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Are there any citizens that would like to address our commissioners? Are there any citizens who would like to address their commissioners? Austin, how far behind are we in the feed?
It is a 30-second delay.
Okay. I'll ask one more time. Are there any citizens that would like to address their commissioners? And we'll wait 1 minute. Okay, we'll move on. Any elected, appointed county officials who would like to comment tonight? Prosecutor Gilbert.
Thank you. Am I on?
Yes.
Okay. We've been dealing with these executive orders in my office since they began coming out. We're up to number, I want to say 97 or 98. Today, the Court of Claims, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Court of Claims today ruled against the Michigan legislature in their lawsuit against Governor Whitmer concerning her state of emergencies. They upheld the one from the 1945 statute, but the Judge Stevens found that she exceeded her authority for Executive Order 68, which was based on the 1976 statute that required the legislature to consent after 28 days. I've been doing summaries of the executive orders that really apply to the people of Calhoun County. About weekly, I'll be doing one tomorrow on the two latest, the executive order today that freed up a few things. That's all I have for you, unless you have questions.
Anybody? Looks like we're good. Any
I
other?
hope the sheriff's on tonight, but is he on?
He had been earlier.
He's not here? Okay, we they've investigated, I want to say close to 80 complaints. We haven't had any violations at all in Calhoun County.
Yep,
Sheriff.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Are you all set? Are you all set, Dave?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Hey, thank you. Hey, I just wanted to update. So it's Marine Patrol kickoff this weekend. So the patrol boats will be on the lakes. One of the orders did not specifically address the vessel expiration on the decals, on the tags for the vessels, but the Secretary of State asked us to consider that because many people cannot get those renewed, and we are taking care of that. So we just want to make sure everybody has a safe boating season, and you will again see the guys out starting this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Any other elected or appointed county officials? Okay, we'll move on.
Mr. Chair, I can't see that
Yep.
Chief
I
Judge
think
Jack Annette and also Clerk Kimberly Hinckley both were asking to speak.
Go ahead. Clerk Kinkley.
Something funky.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, modern technology. We started doing certain services for the citizens of Calhoun County by appointment in our marshal office starting Monday. And we've had a great response. Everybody has just been wonderful, very appreciative that we have been open and willing to take them in and take care of the needs that they have. And it's been going just really well. I'm very thankful. Everybody's been very compliant and wearing masks. And we're just wanted to update that it's going well. And everybody, I think, is just getting ready to get out a little bit and take care of the needs of Calhoun County. So our staff they've been very thankful and appreciative to our staff. And that just makes the day go a little easier as well. So that's all I have unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Okay, Judge Jacknet?
Okay, and, all right. I just wanted to update everyone on what's going on with the courts. There was an article last week or the week before that, if you read the article, it indicated that we're up and running and doing our hearings remotely. That the headline indicated that we were not open, and I want to make sure everyone understands we are open and doing hearings. We're not open in the sense that everyone is allowed physically into the courtrooms, but we are having people appearing remotely, and attorneys and litigants for a lot of different types of hearings, not all. And we're still working on trying to figure out how we're going to be putting together opportunities for us to have jury trials in the different courts, but that's still quite a ways off. But we're working through the process. We have assistance with the public health director and the folks at the county. And there are issues that come up with the remote communication in the courtroom. And I know that the prosecutor and the sheriff and Mr. Macklin from the public defender's office have some concerns, and we're working through those. But I just wanted to give that update. And if anyone has any questions, I can try to respond.
Any questions for the Chief Judge? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved by Miller.
Moved by Miller,
Support by King.
support by King. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Betty. 6 yes, 1 offline.
Motion carries. Special committee workshop board reports.
Yes, we'll be right there. We go.
Mr. Tompkins.
Thank you, Chair. Actually had a number of committees in the virtual sense, if you will, from starting out with the Senior Millage Committee, met virtually May 1st. We approved a number of mini grants in the amount of $5,000 to the Haven of Rest, Albion Community Gardens, the South Michigan Food Bank for the purpose of Marshall Senior Fresh Food Distribution, as well as we also approved a mini grant to the Alano Club for $4,500. We discussed the rescheduling of our strategic planning session. This is initially scheduled for August 28th now. Hopefully we'll be able to actually go through with that. And then finally, we approved a recommendation to the county board to send a letter to the president regarding the COVID-19 response. That'll be something I'll be following up with you, Chair Frisbee, on in terms of what the recommendation will be. So just from that aspect. The Homer Lake Board met virtually also May 10th. Blake Mallory of PLM was on hand to discuss the upcoming treatments to the lake for 2020, including, which we were very excited, the approval by the DEQ to widen the channel in the second lake. That's been something that's we've been working on for a number of years, even before I was on that board. So we're very pleased to actually have that yet another piece of that lake to be treated so that people have better access and be able to enjoy the lake. So our first treatment will be applied, or was applied, May 13th. And then we also reviewed our 2020 budget and also discussed accelerating our debt payoff. Initially, when I came on the board, we had $10,000, if you will, in debt still. We're currently right now potentially looking at cutting that in half at this point in time and hopefully have it paid off in the next 2 years. So we've accelerated that very much. We feel very good about our financial position. The Trailway Alliance, which had a meeting scheduled for May 13th, was canceled due to a lack of agenda items. And then finally, the SWIMBA Board, Health Substance Use Oversight Policy Board, met virtually May 18th. We reviewed the fiscal 19-20 year-to-date financials, including the 2021 PA2 budget and the 3-year estimate. Particular focus was on ensuring that counties stay within budget to ensure programs are able to continue uninterrupted. There's many programs certainly that are on the docket that that we just need from, at least from Calhoun County, we need to make sure that we're on top of, that they stay within their bounds so that we can continue them in the long term. And then also too, real quickly, we received results of the Gambling Disorder Prevention Readiness Assessment that was conducted. This assessment covered the 8-county region, including Berry Branch, Berrien, Calhoun, et cetera. And of the 8 counties, Calhoun County actually had the second lowest score with 1.57 out of a scale of 10, which basically shows no awareness as to the issue is not generally recognized by the community or leaders as a problem. And I just found that especially somewhat concerning, only the fact is we do have a casino within Calhoun County, and there just doesn't seem to be that awareness that gambling is, in fact, can be a problem along with mental illness and substance abuse as well. So going forward, future work will be conducted to raise awareness of problem gambling via SWIMBA. So just something to keep in mind as well. So that being said, that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, and I've got a couple of boards to report on. Health Board had our first board meeting in a couple of months. They've been fairly busy, as you can imagine, trying to keep up with COVID. We talked about those responses and what else is going on there. Continue to offer them kudos for the way they've responded in the community and the job they've done keeping up with that. The other couple of things there, of course, budget, worried about next year, what's going on. And of course, their budget is approved on October 1st. That'll be an interesting process, to say the least. I'm not sure that health departments are going to see a huge shortage of dollars, as that's probably going to be one of the primary focuses of funding. They also began their mosquito trapping, looking for EEE, Eastern Equine Encephalitis, which was a major problem last summer. So if that flares up, you'll be sure to know. We'll have some public information coming out on that if something does happen. The 911 board met last Tuesday. Severe questions about funding there. 1/3 of the budget comes through the state. 2/3 of the budget is fee for service. So we talked about different scenarios and asked the director to come up with some budget scenarios that deal with anywhere from a 10 to 25% cut. We're not sure that's going to be the impact there, but we want to be ready. If we have that big of a shortage, we're not going to probably ask for an update in higher funds from the locals. 2/3 of the budget. The local governments are going to be in the same shape as everybody else and not in a position to be able to pay a lot more. So we're looking at some service issues and potential cuts there, but that's all in a very preliminary. So I don't want anybody to think that we're not going to have 911. It's just, what are we going to be able to offer? So, any other? Commissioner Hatcher.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt, and I didn't want to interrupt you. I just want to let you know that you kind of phased in and out a little bit towards the end of your report. So some of us or some people listening may not have heard everything.
Okay. Was it about the 911?
Yes.
Yep. And that is that 2/3 of the budget is made up from fee for service. 1/3 of the budget comes from the state. So we're looking at all options of where the budget will lie, and it could mean some service level cuts and positions. That's all preliminary, but we want to be ready to react once the budget information comes out from the state.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on. We have no unfinished business. The new business and county administrator's report. I'll turn it over to Kelly Scott, County Administrator Controller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. I'll start with just a brief financial update. So this is the time of the year where basically 3 years worth of financial planning are coming together. Our finance staff are working with the auditors to finish the audit for the 2019 fiscal year. And I can report that our financial results were mainly positive to end December. And it was mostly due to us, the strategies that we employed this last year with our employee benefits, health insurance, introducing a new higher deductible plan. Our claims costs were lower than expected, and so we were able to use that to offset revenue shortfalls. So revenue shortfalls for 2019, of course, had nothing to do with COVID-19. They really just continue the trend of some of our local revenue shortfalls that we've been continuing to be a little too optimistic in budgeting. Public safety, the court costs, just department fees in general were lower than expected, but we did end the year with about over 5 million in our fund balance, which is considered healthy. It's within the board target. And that will be good news as we move forward in getting a bond credit rating within the next 30 days for the Emmett Township bond issuance that we hope to close the deal by the end of June. We also are working with our mid-year budget review that we do every year at this time. So we'll be asking our elected officials and department heads to give us input. And of course, we have a lot of that just by looking at the data through our finance office. But we've already seen shortfalls, of course, in March and April with both local revenues and then things that are related to state funding. So we do expect to have to bring to you a mid-year budget adjustment for 2020 that does include significant reductions in revenue for this year, potentially up to 5 to 10% within the general fund. And that is one of the reasons why we've introduced the furlough program. So far, it's been a voluntary furlough, and we are working on expanding that to consider putting in place the federal work share program that you may have seen some other local and state governments implementing. And so also, you know, I've listened to and several of our commissioners and finance staff webinars that have given us the forecast about how long this deficit, how long the economic downturn will last. And the projection is for next year, pretty much through 2021, we should expect anything that's related to state funding to take a hit, as well as our local revenues, just until the economy rebounds. So we are in the process of preparing our initial budget forecast for 2021, and that will factor in those items. And then really, you know, everything has to be on the table. Of course, 2/3 of our staffing or of our budget is staffing. So we're running some scenarios on, you know, what we'll need to do in the future. So just want to emphasize and underscore, we're not in an immediate budget crisis, but we are looking forward into the longer term to try to figure out how to minimize the impact on services to the public and on our employees. Second, a report on the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board met on May 15. Commissioner King is the county's representative on that budget or on that committee. And in that meeting, so in addition to allocating all of the tiers 2 and 3 and 4, which basically make up most of the approximately $6 million that we got this year from the casino's net win proceeds from 2019, the board made a unprecedented unanimous vote to take the remaining discretionary funds that they typically have every year. In some years they choose to save them. Some years we've done the discretionary tier 4 grant program. This year they chose to allocate $145,000 to give $5,000 one-time checks to each of our local municipalities. So not all local governments, meaning not schools and all of that, but cities, townships, villages in the county will each get a one-time $5,000 payment by the end of June, totally unrestricted, but you know, just keeping in mind that there are some budget struggles created by this pandemic. The next meeting of the Firekeepers Local Revenue Sharing Board is June 5th, and then we should be able to get checks out the door shortly after that. Also related, today a press release went out to report on the economic impact study of Firekeepers. And interesting to listen to Commissioner Tompkins, we definitely had them measure potential impacts of gambling problems, meaning bankruptcies, domestic violence, just socio indicators that really didn't show an uptick from the time the casino opened until now. So that doesn't mean I'm disagreeing that there's not an awareness of, you know, potential gambling issues, but the results of that economic study were very favorable, meaning the casino has created a lot of jobs, increased the basically the value of property within Calhoun County and has not drastically decreased any of our indicators that we've been paying attention to. Battle Creek Rotary Club continues to every Monday via Zoom, and I've been attending that along with various other county officials and have been giving them county government updates as well as our Joint Operations Center COVID-19 response updates. Our County Visitors Bureau Board met also this past week on May 12th. We accepted the audit and also had to do a revised budget for the current year. They have a calendar fiscal year. Commissioner Vetty is the chair of that, and I'm the treasurer. We are projecting a 50% drop calendar year for hotel accommodation tax. So in March and April, for sure, occupancy in local hotels throughout the county were only at about 20 to 30%. So CVB's budget from about $1 million to $500,000. Fortunately, the CVB is in a very strong position financially to be able to adjust the budget accordingly. And of course, with a lot of the events being canceled in the county, the sponsorship and promotion of those, the cost associated with that will just be inherently down as well. The Michigan Municipal Services Authority, or MMSA, met virtually on May 14. That's the authority that focuses on shared services for local governments. I was appointed several years ago by former governor as the local government representative on that. We've been operating with an interim CEO for about the past several months. And we are the agency that is contracted by the Local Community Stabilization Authority, or LCSA, to distribute all the personal property tax reimbursements. That just happened yesterday on behalf of the state. And so really our future seems to be looking up. We were wondering about the sustainability of the MMSA, but now that local governments are once again facing recession levels of revenues, you know, there may be an elevated need for some centralized assistance that we can provide. Marshall Community Credit Union Board met this past Monday. As you may expect, in addition to those regular items, we heard some updates from our CEO, Heather Luciani, about the COVID-19 response. Credit unions also had a lot of new tools provided by the federal government to help employees and the public, as well as their credit union members, to alleviate financial struggles. And then finally, the Veterans Affairs Committee met this past Wednesday via Zoom. And our director, Aaron Edlifson, gave an update on the status of their office as we move into reopening plans, bringing back to full staffing levels, even though the office will remain closed for the next week, at least to the public. Also, as we have reported, the Veterans Affairs Office received a grant amendment that allowed them to essentially double the Veterans Relief Fund that they use every single month to respond to emergency requests from veterans. So we had a lot of our boards and committees are, I guess, resuming to normal business, which is kind of a refreshing break to just talking about COVID-19 all day long, every day. And lastly, I just want to end with a note that on the consent agenda today was our COVID-19 response and preparedness plan. That plan is required under, I'm just going to say, the current executive orders, because as Prosecutor Gilbert mentioned, the number is growing, and with every new executive order that relates to stay home, it's superseding previous ones, but they're all still requiring employers to have in place a plan that is available to the public, is available to our employees, that demonstrates how we are prepared to screen employees and visitors when they come into county buildings. We have plans in place that's already been implemented this past week, and to make sure that the building is safe and clean. So this past weekend, our Justice Center and the county building through a contracted agency were all, disinfected from a kind of a spraying fogging technique, I guess I'll call it. And Brad Wilcox is actually taking PTO today and tomorrow, which is nice. I do want to make sure you realize that he and the facility staff have done a lot to work with all of our elected officials and department heads. They've done walkthroughs of every office and every public space to put things in place for the required social distancing, to make sure that our employees are protected. So physical barriers such as plexiglass are now in place throughout. their signage, and I think we're in really good shape from a compliance standpoint. As we've this past week, as we've re-engaged our employees to full staffing, and also as we look forward to whenever the next phase will be, where we, in a very careful and safe way, start to re-engage visitors into our building. Also really want to thank our elected officials, our judges. Judge Jack Canette's been trying really hard to be the champion for wearing masks. That's one of the challenges this past week as we implemented these new policies. It is really tough for employees to get used to wearing masks. They're not comfortable. They're sometimes warm on your face, hard to talk, awkward. He's been a huge champion of the importance of that. And on behalf of our health officer, I'll just say thank you. And we continue to, I guess, revise policies as needed. For example, we had an issue with our employee screening tool where the symptoms and how many of those were needed to require employees to seek medical treatment didn't quite match up to the latest guidance, which does keep changing. So I think we finalized all of that today, and we have all of the pieces in place to be, fully compliant, fully ready to move to the next step of reopening. I'll also say through the Joint Operations Center, we worked with the city of Battle Creek to coordinate our plans. So theirs looks very similar. The county has agreed to make versions of our forms and our plans in a non-branded Microsoft Word version. And we've had a lot of good response from other local governments and even nonprofit agencies throughout the county saying, thank you so much. I don't have to start from scratch. I'm required to do this plan. I'm just going to use the counties and adapt it, because we did put a lot of work into it. Our health department really gave us some expertise on a lot of the details. And we also, in addition to our current response plan, we've also created future phased approach to moving to full reopening. So we have already plans for what the county will do when we move to the next phase and the next phase in reopening. And we've tried to match those up with the courts, Supreme Court orders regarding how the courts need to operate moving forward. So I'm just really proud of all of our countywide leadership. We've been meeting weekly every Thursday. A lot is changing. And like I said, the last piece that we're trying to put in place is to look at the federal work share program, which essentially means we probably, in order to save some more budget dollars going through the summer while these tools are available, we'll be reducing the normal work schedule for a lot of our non-union employees in a way that saves the county budget and also still allows for us to provide the critical services to the public. Essentially, we'll figure out how to get our jobs done in less time so that we can reduce the burden on the county. Appreciate the board's support and Lucy Blair for all of her communications. Jim Dyer's been working way too many hours trying to help with the legal advice and contracts that we've put in place for a lot of these provisions. Kim Archambault from Human Resources has dealt with every single day questions about unemployment and working on these new policies and screening. So we are really working really hard, and I hope that you hear some good feedback from the public when they do start to come into our buildings. And I feel really good that we have our plans in place and that, the future is looking up. There's actually some light at the end of the tunnel. Don't know how long the tunnel is, but we're prepared when that can happen. So that concludes my report. I know that was a little bit long. What I'm going to do in exchange for that is we're going to shorten the finance presentation a little bit under new business. And
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Kathy Sue, can you now speak?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you see me?
No.
I haven't been able to figure that out. Okay. Well, sorry about that.
We can see something on your screen, but it's definitely not you.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably because I don't know what I'm doing. So,
okay.
So sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So moving on to tonight, item 12B1 is our annual summer and winter tax resolutions. They're on page 46 of the packet. The bookmark is a little bit off on this one, so just want to call your attention to it. In this really is just the absolutely critical approval that we need from the board by way of the General Property Tax Act by our Equalization Deputy Director, Tom Scott. And it basically, there are no changes. We're required to collect our operating levy in the summer. It's not a choice, and that remains 5.3779 mils. It generates about $20 million for the county's operating funds. And then the winter tax levy, by statute also, we are required, all of our extra voted millages are required to be collected in the winter. So we have the medical care facility that's just under 1/4 of a mil. Senior millage is just under 3/4 of a mil. And our veterans millage is 1/10 of a mil. So if we were to have a successful renewal of the senior millage, that would just continue starting with next winter. If we were successful countywide for the voters to approve a new parks millage, that would also need to be changed before the winter tax were levied this December. So we ask for your approval of that tonight.
Can I have a motion to approve the attached resolution to levy Calhoun County summer and winter property taxes in 2020 as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Moved by
Support,
Tom,
Hatcher.
support from Hatcher. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item 12B2 is on page 46 of the packet. This request comes from the Sheriff's Office. Kudos to our new Sheriff Hinckley. He's really got an interesting time, and as this happens to all of our sheriffs, right? You get a new one and they inherit a budget. Sheriff Hinckley has been demonstrating a real concern for the budget that he's inherited. He has, I think, has demonstrated a really good understanding of how a big piece of the county budget, the Sheriff's Office and public safety is, and has been working with Megan Banning in our finance office just to get a better baseline understanding of, all of the moving pieces and how decisions that he is charged with making related to staffing and all of that feed into the county's budget. So to that end, I'm appreciative that he is submitting a grant for funding that did come from one of the COVID-19 federal programs. And this one is through the Bureau of Justice Assistance. And it's a fixed amount. The county was allocated $58,000, and you have the line item budget there. The Sheriff's Office is working on the purchasing plan for that. It's mainly for supplies and other expenses that will directly help with them, to the extent that the Sheriff's Office is definitely on a daily basis impacted by COVID-18 and continues to be on the front line. And we definitely appreciate all of those workers who have not stopped working 24/7, and have had to really put themselves out there in a way that they can't be socially distanced like a lot of the rest of us.
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the submittal of the BJA grant program for COVID-19 and training grant application and approve the budget amendment that funds the grant as presented?
Support Hatcher. So moved, Hatcher. I'm sorry, Steve.
Support
Hatcher.
Vetty.
Support by
Support
Vetty.
Vetty.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 12B3 is on page 50. This is a request from the Office of Senior Services and from our Senior Millage Allocation Committee Commissioner Tompkins is, of course, chairs that. And this item was approved by the SMAC committee on May 1st. We have our senior services manager here, Helen Guzzo, and I think she's going to speak with this. I feel like this is the big thank you night, but Helen is another one and her staff that are just putting in a tremendous amount of extra time delivering masks and meals and just, you know, fully engaged with helping the seniors throughout the COVID pandemic. And it's just amazing to me to hear the updates every single morning from all of us who are just, you know, committed to not letting anybody's issues fall through the cracks. And it's been challenging, sort of given the geographic nature of our county. We've had operated in silos in a lot of ways, which a lot of you are familiar with. So we're really trying, anytime we hear of a disconnect in certain communities, we're really trying to bring that to everyone's attention and just be honest and figure out how to fix it. So with that, if Helen's there and available, I'd like to have her just briefly introduce this item.
Hello, thank you for your consideration. I just want to mention the mask project. I delivered boxes of commodities that Community Action provides to Peabody Place, an affordable housing unit in Albion. And the seniors, nobody had a mask. They were all out and about and nobody had a mask. It was, so I came back and was talking about it. I'm like, well, should we collect masks from the community and give them out? And so that was like April 28th, and we've collected over 2,000 masks made by usually older women in the community. And those have been distributed to all 874 affordable housing units, apartments in the county, and then all the 550 Meals on Wheels. It's been an amazing thing to be part of. And I went, well, like I need 175 for tomorrow. And then someone would come to my front door and drop off 150 that they made over the weekend. It's been a pretty amazing thing, but we're here to support Community Action. They have a $150,000 grant to provide minor home repair. They have obligated that $150,000 with repairs. It's $3,500 per homeowner. It's a income tested program of 200% of poverty or below. Last year, we allocated a supplemental to take care of the wait list. So this $54,000 is to take care of emergencies as seniors, homeowners that have unlimited incomes, when their water pump breaks or their water heater or their furnace, that there's funds available to take care of that. And Community Action has continued to do minor home repair when a water supply, water heater or furnace goes out. So this is a supplemental to their existing contract. It'll come out of our fund balance, and we're a little worried about the ability to draw down some of our contracts. Like the senior centers have been closed since the middle of March, and Marion Birch Adult Daycare has been closed. So we will have some dollars probably left over at the end of the year. We might ask you to reallocate to programs that have had continuing demand during this crisis.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the supplemental funding of $54,000 from senior millage for Community Action Senior Minor Home Repair Program based on increased demand for emergency repairs for low-income older adult homeowners who cannot otherwise afford such repairs as presented, and authorize the board chair to sign the contract amendment to this funding?
So moved, Tompkins.
Support.
Moved by Tompkins, supported by Smith. Any discussion?
Just a real quick one, if I may, Chair.
Yes.
I certainly echo the comments that Ms. Scott has stated towards Helen Guzzo and all the work that not only her, that also her assistants and other staff that's done everything in that. So kudos to everybody in the county that's really pulled together on this. So just wanted to state that. Great job. Thank you.
And anybody else? Jim Dyer and I both serve on the Community Action Board. We appreciate the willingness of the county to supplement this. It'll mean serving a lot more seniors that potentially need it. So we appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
Right, and the next three items relate to the road department. So with us tonight, we have Christine Parsons, our Director of Engineering. The first one is 12B4. So even though we're believing we're on lockdown, the road department continues to move forward with some really needed projects this summer. So this is an MDOT contract number 20-5245. It's a safety grant that allows for traffic signal enhancement and for locations throughout the county. And they will install some overhead flashing beacons. I really like the safety grants because they're 90% funded with only a 10% match. So as the agenda item notes, the estimated cost for this project is just under $72,000. It will happen this year, and the road department's match portion is just over $7,000. And with that, I'll ask Christine to add or just answer questions.
Well, just to give you a little bit of background, we try to maximize the dollar amount of safety grants that we apply for every year. They are offered every year on a 2-year cycle. So anything we apply for this year would be given to us in 2022. But with this particular set of safety grants, it's part of the Highway Safety Improvement Program. And like Kelly said, it is an excellent match where we only have to provide 10%. And it's based on crash history. We don't decide where, we put these in places where the crashes indicate that there is a problem. And particularly at the response of the township, in particularly, Levita Hardish had mentioned an intersection that she thought was problematic. We checked the crash history at that particular intersection, and it was determined that the crash history warranted an overhead flashing beacon, which helps make people from further away that there is an intersection coming up. So it did get funded through the safety grant program. And there are 4 locations here, 2 in Leroy Township, D Drive South at 4 Mile, H Drive South at 2.5, 1 in Emmett Township, which is D Drive North at 9 Mile, and then 1 in Marengo at Partello Road and 20 Mile, which will tie in nicely actually with the federal aid project that we're planning to start here in the next few weeks right there. So that is really it for this one.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the Michigan Department of Transportation contract number 20-5245 and authorize the county administrator, controller, and the Board of Commissioners chair to electronically sign necessary documents to execute the contract upon review by legal counsel?
So moved, Vetty.
Support Miller.
Moved by Vetty, supported by Miller. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
Item 12B5 is on page 83, and this one does not take much explanation. I think since the inception of Act 51, counties have been offered a reimbursement from the state of $10,000. Has not increased from year to year, but it at least is something, and it requires us to have a professional and licensed engineer on staff. As you know, we have several, including Christine. So this just offsets some of the costs of the road department budget, and MDOT requires the Board of Commissioners to approve us submitting this form in order to.
Can I have a motion to approve the submission of the engineering reimbursement form 2044 to the state of Michigan as presented?
So moved, Smith.
Moved by Smith,
Support, Vetty.
support by Vetty. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item 12B6 is on page 88. This is a request to approve an engineering contract for repaving on Main Street, which is a collaborative project between the county and the city of Battle Creek. So it's within a road in Emmett Township, that's our jurisdiction, and then the city of Battle Creek, where it crosses over. So this is a follow-up to an item that you already approved on April 14, and that was the actual MDOT contract where we talked about it being future funded 2 years later, but we want to do the project right now so that we're being efficient and coordinating with the city. It's about a $200,000 project. This item is just for an understanding of how we will share engineering costs so that we're not engineering separately two projects that really, merge into one. So anytime we have a collaboration like this, we get our attorney involved. Jim Dyer has been involved with this contract, as well as, again, Christine is still here to talk about that. But really, we're asking for your approval because it's roughly $20,000, which might, if it goes above that, would exceed our purchasing limit and therefore would require board approval. So I don't know, Jim, if you want to add, or Christine, or just answer questions.
Just to give you a little bit of background on this one, we moved our of this project up by 2 years so that we could minimize impact to the public. We are going to construct this with the city of Battle Creek all at the same time so that we shut down the road just one time, and then it minimizes impact to people driving on there, and it also reduces construction impacts to the new segment of road after we build our segment. So they're not being built at separate times. It'll all be continuous. There won't be any joints. So what this contract covers here is the inspection costs and the materials testing costs. We've already designed our portion on our own. The city of Battle Creek designed their portion. Everything got submitted to MDOT. We reviewed all that jointly. It's just that we don't need two sets of inspectors out there. So they're going to have their inspectors out there, and we're going to reimburse them a weighted average of what, like, based on, it's like a 60-40 split or something approximately like that. We are going to reimburse them 40% of the cost of the work so that we don't have to send our staff out there. They're going to do it and then handle all of the paperwork and the audit and everything. So it really makes it a lot simpler overall. And I think it'll probably come out to benefit us in the long run.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the contract between Calhoun County and the city of Battle Creek to share engineering cost on the Main Street repaving project as submitted?
So moved, Smith.
Moved by Smith. Commissioner Miller, were you talking, Tommy?
Yes, support Miller.
Support by Miller. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the last item under new business tonight is 12B7. These are our monthly financial statements through the month of April. And I just want to note for the record, we're not going to go through all of these tonight. I gave you kind of a brief financial update earlier, and we're kind of at the point where in the next month or so, there will be much more meaningful information as we start to talk about the mid-year budget amendments and bring you the audit for approval for 2019. We did attach a brief PowerPoint presentation that Megan Banning prepared for the 19 fiscal year end. So please, when you get a chance, check that out. It includes the general fund and the road department as well, the financial results for 2019. And then through April 2020, really the highlights are not that much different from what we presented for the March financials. There is a summary of the COVID related responses, which again, at this point, we are expecting through FEMA, through the CARES Act, and through specific funding like the sheriff's grant that we talked about, as well as health department direct funding, that we do think those will be directly reimbursed. We're mainly watching revenue downfalls. And I know Megan has done an outstanding job sort of being the point person along with Linda Morrison from the city of Battle Creek, keeping track of all the moving parts when it comes to the potential for additional funding. Right now, there are two bills in Congress, one that the House proposed, one that the Senate proposed, the HEROES Act, and I think the other one is SMART maybe. They have a little bit different provisions when it comes to direct reimbursements for counties, but they both do include the ability, some more flexibility for us to replace lost revenues. A lot of course, political back and forth, and I don't know the chances of that next. It's another $3 trillion stimulus package. But regardless, I just want to reassure you that Megan has been doing an outstanding job with all kinds of extra financial analysis. I'm asking her all the time to do some staffing analysis as we've put in place these furloughs, some future revenue projections as we're working on next year's budget. And she's helping our elected officials look at their budgets, especially the newer ones. So I really appreciate that. And I'm going to take her off the hook tonight from going through the April financials, because I think it will just be much more meaningful as we move into the next month or two to provide you some more specific plans for going forward.
Okay. Can I have a motion to accept the Calhoun County April 2020 financial statements as presented?
So moved, Tompkins.
Moved by Tompkins, support by Miller. Any discussion or questions? I would just add that Megan she seems to work around the clock. She gets a lot of stuff done. I see it every day. When you ask a question, you get an immediate response. She has been very good. And I think Gerald, more behind the scenes, has been filling some of those voids as well. So we appreciate both of their efforts.
I agree. I did want to mention, yes, to echo that with Gerald, she's the audit has been her primary focus these last few months. So she has been necessarily very much behind the scenes, but she's also in charge of payroll and accounts payable, both at the road department and with the county. So our finance staff are really, holding the fort down. Final comment that I should have mentioned earlier, again, this is the big thank you night, is our county treasurer, Brian Winsauer, and Deputy Melinda Weaver. They right now is always the county's lowest cash flow position, just because it's right before we start to collect property taxes in the summer. Our fixed costs continue. We've added cash flowing the Joint Operations Center COVID responses. The road department is at that point where they've started construction projects, but we don't have bonds issued yet. So they are really making sure that we're keeping the county afloat cash wise. And I just want to say a big thank you. It's actually a daily monitoring exercise in working with delinquent tax funds and pooling the cash and all of that. Brian's been doing an excellent job in making sure that he is responsible for not letting us get in trouble with our cash flow until we're in a better position later this year.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Tompkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Vetty,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner King,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries. Our next item is citizens' time. Same rules apply as during the first citizens' time. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and no negative personal comments. Please mute your TV or computer when calling in, as the background sound will generate feedback. Please note that there's an approximately 10-second delay between the live meeting and the YouTube feed. Do we have any citizens that would like to address their commissioners? citizens that want to address their commissioners? Austin, the YouTube feed's still up and live, right?
YouTube feed is up and running.
Thank you, sir. Any citizens would like to address their commissioners? All right, we'll move on. Commissioners' time. Any commissioners? Commissioner Tompkins.
Thank you, Chair. On a positive note, this week, most of you know that this is EMS week, where we have an opportunity to honor the work done by paramedics and emergency medical technicians around the country, and certainly in Calhoun County. One of our distinguished colleagues, obviously on the board with us, does it each and every day, and we want to take the opportunity to not only thank him and his staff, but everybody certainly in Calhoun County for all the work that you do. And really, to be honest with you, with this current health crisis has underlined just how important the role of EMS workers are. So again, Steve, we certainly appreciate all the work you and your staff, but importantly as well, all of our paramedics and EMTs around the county and certainly around the country. So great job. Thank you.
And including your daughter. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Commissioner Hatcher.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I do also want to take this time to thank our team and our staff at the county and of the county. I mean, from the sheriffs to Shayna and our IT department. I know that this whole COVID thing has been really difficult, but it does seem that we have still been able to work diligently in keeping ourselves going and keeping this going. And it's not easy because we all do have families. So I did want to say thank you to all the team and all the staff that is there working to help us look good. So I just want to, that was just on my spirit. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Any other commissioners? All right, we'll move on. Can I have a motion to approve claims payable for May 1st, 2020 through May 14th, 2020? The amount of $7,264,505.34 as presented. Don't all jump at once. Commissioner Miller, is that you making the motion? Okay. Thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if that is. All right.
Second by Betty.
Seconded by Betty. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Commissioner Vetti,
Yes.
Commissioner Hatcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Frisbee,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Dean, Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Tompkins.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion carries.
He always jumps the gun.
He always tries.
Uh,
All right. Any announcements? Anyone?
No announcements. Everything's canceled at this point in time. So
Yes, it is.
yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of quiet on this in the 7th this time around. So
I would ask Commissioner Miller, is there any final day or date that the fair board has set as a?
I know they've been meeting pretty much weekly. 4-H is actually shut down everything till sometime in September. It's not a good deal because I think in the future it's really going to hurt 4-H, especially because our fair is a youth fair. So you could be in FFA or any other. You can submit if you want to start your own group, youth group, to the fair, and if they accept you. So like my daughter, she had to go and jump into the FFA she's already a member of the FFA, but she had to switch over to that to be able to show this year if they do have it. So I think in the future, it's really gonna hurt the 4-H participants, throughout the whole state of Michigan. They're hoping to still have it. They said they might, thinking about having it sometime in September, maybe, but they're gonna try to still have it at the same time. I
Okay.
did see that Faster Horses did get canceled.
Yep.
They announced that today. So
Saw
there's
that
a
announcement today.
lot of stuff getting canceled. So hopefully we can still have a fair.
I hope so. Anybody else? All right. This meeting